So in this video, we're going to measure the maximum throughput of the 96B Quad Ethernet Mezzanine on the Ultra96 running Linux. In my setup for this, I have a PC running Windows 10. I have an Ultra96 V2 with the 96B Quad Ethernet Mezzanine on top. Both the PC and the Ultra96 are connected to a router. Obviously, I could have done this differently. I could have connected the two directly together. But if I did that, I would have had to assign fixed IP addresses to each device. So to simplify things, I've done it this way. So they'll both get their IP addresses automatically from the DHCP server on the router. So that kind of makes things a bit easier for this demo, a bit simpler. So the tool that we're going to use for this test is called iPerf. So the first thing we'll have to do is go to iperf.fr and click on download iPerf binary. I'm going to select the one for Windows 64-bit. That will let me download a zip file. I want to open up the zip file and just extract the contents of that to some directory on my hard drive from which I want to run that program. So I've just put it onto C drive iPerf. So now I can close this. Once you've got iPerf installed and ready to use on your PC, well, now I can run, I can power up the Ultra96 board. While that's booting up, I'll just explain that the SD card that I'm using here has been prepared with the boot files and the root file system of our example design that you can find on our GitHub repository. So I'll put the link up on the video now. Our example design is all the source code that you need to rebuild a Vivado project for this board and a Linux project to go with that Vivado project and this hardware. So the Linux project is built with iPerf already on it, so you don't have to install it again. It's already there. So now it's booted up. I'm going to log in with the root, and the password is root. I'm going to check my IP address. I can see that it's got its IP address, but I can also see that the MTU is set by default to 1500. I want to optimize that. I want to use jumbo frames to get the best speed results out of this. So I'm going to have to bring the port down, and then I'm going to configure the MTU to 9000 and then bring the port back up. So MTU stands for maximum transmission unit. So that just setting it to 9000 means I'm going to be using jumbo frames for this test. So now when I run ifconfig again, I can see that my MTU has been set to 9000 as I wanted it to be. So now that the Ultra96 board is set up, the port is set up, it has an IP address. I want to go now switch over to a command prompt on my PC, the Windows 10 PC. Now I can see from ipconfig that it has an IP address assigned to it as well. It's on the same subnet, obviously, because both these devices are connected to the same router. So now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to run iPerf 3 as a server on the Ultra96, and on my PC I'm going to run the client. And when I run the client, I have to specify the IP address of the server. And then when I run that, I can see my bandwidth or throughput measurements. And I've got about 920 megabits per second, which is pretty good for a gigabit link. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the test in the other direction. I'm going to run it as a server from the PC, and I'm going to run it as a client from the Ultra96. You'll typically get the same results, but I just want to show that you can do it this way. So then when I run that, I get my results, which are pretty much the same, 930 or so megabits per second, which again is pretty good for gigabit per second link. So as you can see, you can get pretty impressive throughput measurements from the Ultra96 V2 and the 96B Quad Ethernet Mezzanine. Thanks for watching the demo.